Hello, everybody. Today is October 6th. We're doing business and security news, and Wendell is still deeply enjoying the orange soda.
Hikari Nights solo. We are halfway through. I don't think I'm going to make it through all 3 episodes. Of course, we did run long.
You're not even close to half. The taper makes it look different. You're going to have to get below the label before you're even close to half.
Okay, well, we might make it then. It's very satisfying. And also, we're kicking off Devember. It's not, usually it's December, but listen, development projects, the deadlines slip, things go crazy. Feel good, do something. End of year. Devember is kicking off, and it's sponsored this year by Linode. And there's a coupon below. You can get a Linode credit. And this episode of the news is sponsored by Linode, as is every episode of the news through the rest of the year.
Ooh.
Thank you, Linode.
Now let me give you a word of caution and a word of encouragement. All right. Last year we accepted projects that were not complete. Not this year. You must complete your project. Now that's the word of caution, but the word of encouragement. How many total completed entries did we have last year?
20.
No, completed.
8, 3.
I think everybody who actually completed something got something.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. If you're thinking about, well, I don't know, I'm not going to have time. If you can finish it, and it's something, and it can't be something like I made index.html. It's going to have to be more than that. But if you can do it, very decent chance for prizes. What was the worst prize we gave away other than a T-shirt last year?
I don't know.
Like a motherboard or something.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
So you can get something decent here.
Yeah. And if you're not a programmer, you can still play on the game side of it because Linode has sponsored a game server. We haven't set that up yet. That's going to be in probably another week or 2.
But that's the design portion.
Yeah.
So, Krista, what game other than Minecraft, and maybe the answer is none, can we apply a design challenge to?
Engagement challenge.
I'll say I really like Parkitect, but Parkitect's not collaborative. The joy of the Minecraft server was that it became very, very collaborative. And that's why I kind of enjoyed that last year, was seeing how people built together. But
well, we also would have no way to vet whether they really did it. It has to be a multiplayer. It has to be a server.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know. We'll think about that some more. Chat if you have recommendations. Yeah.
And maybe it will just be Minecraft, but we're going to have to think of a new angle on it this year. And don't post 10 million mods. We're not doing that. That's ridiculous.
Turns out a lot of mods have scalability problems when we're talking about that many people.
I mean, we got to the point on the old Minecraft server where we had so many item farms and stuff, which are just vanilla redstone creations, that it was slowing the server down. So
yeah,
something to think about.
These are sick people who are going to be using this. You got to think about that. And they're still building on it.
Yeah, it's still very active. So if you're interested in Minecraft, go check it out.
It's crazy what they're up to. Or wait till the next one. You think all of those people will be committed to that one, or will they immediately jump over to the next one?
Probably jump to the next one because it'll it's a new world, new thing.
And people will look at this.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. You need the attention. Well, Google, they made some statements. For a long time, Google has kind of been coasting on being the #1 search, right? And for a long time, you couldn't even get close. But I think some of the upstarts like DuckDuckGo are getting better and better. And they're getting good enough that you can kind of ignore Google. So Google has to do something.
Google's next search phase is context is king. Google says search is still far from solved. So this is basically Google wanting to have a conversation with you. When you put in some keywords, it's like, is this what you want? And it's like, no, I meant something more like this. And it's like, oh, okay, I can figure that out.
They've definitely kind of done this with images. Their image search now offers here's related keywords to what you're looking for. Their image search is far better than DuckDuckGo's. If I look for a very specific meme, Google Images is going to find it faster.
They're going to have to also take precautions to make sure that people can't use this for stalking, because you'll take a picture of somebody and then Google will be like, oh, that's so-and-so, blah, 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 lives here. And it's like, well, that's basically Clearview AI.
Yeah.
It's a good way to get someone murdered.
And it's going to be annoying when you have to convince, if you're searching for something that has a popular meaning and an unpopular meaning, it's probably going to be a pain. Although it probably already was.
Yeah.
So, Google is also tied up in a lawsuit with Microsoft, and it has an interesting defense in that case.
Google tells judges that it's so popular, it's Bing's top search term. So it's not a monopoly, Judge. We've just taken over the hearts and minds of so many people that everybody wants us, even the people that aren't using us.
I feel like the judge here, so it's like, that's just a humble brag. What are you talking about?
But it does prove that Microsoft is forcing people to use a browser that they would rather not use if the first thing they use that browser for is to get the other one.
Yeah.
Or the first thing they use that search for is to search for a competitive search engine, which is just hilarious. Oh, they are certainly evil, but then so is Microsoft. Microsoft, however, is looking to change its image a little bit, and it's looking to finally maybe open up. Now, they do want a walled garden, but they want more people to have the keys to the gate.
Microsoft opens its Windows Store up to third-party app stores. Amazon and Epic Game Store will be the first to integrate into the Microsoft Store. Now, here's why this is a little different than, say, something like Steam and the way that Steam does things. Is in order for Epic and Amazon and other companies to participate in the Windows Store, they have to follow Microsoft rules with respect to how applications are distributed. MSIs, controls, things like that. I'm sure because they're media companies, there's going to be a way around it to install rootkits because everybody wants the de novo and everybody wants that kind of thing, which is unfortunate. But Microsoft is providing ways for people to be able to do that through their app store. So it's going to be a multi-app store experience after all.
Aren't they just going to try to use Game Pass for that?
I think that I think that they're not going to force Game Pass with this. I think they're going to, when you install Epic or whatever, it's just going to install their own little launcher, and so you'll still end up with 17 launchers at the bottom, which no one wants.
No, but Game Pass already does that. Like
Yeah.
Game Pass, you get EA games with Game Pass, but you still have to launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steam is like that with some games too. It's really annoying.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll ever move regular games into the Windows Store. Have they already done that? Because Game Pass will also sell you games.
I don't know.
I think they're probably trying to move everything over to that because they're trying to consolidate and they're trying to do the cross-play Xbox stuff.
I think it's also kind of that Microsoft saw the lawsuit with Apple, and they're like, one, they want to avoid that, and two, they're figuring that Epic is going to escalate, and now Epic has a pretty good thing where they can say, look, Microsoft is doing it in a multi-cloud kind of a way. Why can't Apple?
But it's interesting. Microsoft is going to let the developers keep 100% of what comes in through this new program, but not games. So they definitely want to treat gaming differently. Makes sense. Valve is they're seeing a lot of success with their Index headset, but it's big, and for most people, what is it, $1,000 for the base kit?
Give or take, yeah.
Plus, you're going to buy the video card. You're going to be out another at least $500.
Oh, more than that in this pandemic. Yeah.
So a lot of people are looking at maybe a simpler kind of VR.
New standalone, quote-unquote, VR headset from Valve has been teased by deep SteamVR file dive. Some info has been hidden in plain sight as far back as January, but will it ever actually launch?
You have to take a big performance hit on that.
I wonder if it's going to be something for the, Steam Deck. Use it on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, definitely. But see, the lower resolution doesn't help you there.
That's true.
You're just going to have a really crappy VR helmet with a low battery life. Taco Bell. Oh, man, it's been a long time since I've had Taco Bell. Maybe I should get some. But maybe when I go to Taco Bell, maybe I don't want to pay with this filthy Federal Reserve currency. Maybe I want to pay with something much more meme-like.
Paying for Taco Bell with Dogecoin may soon be a reality. Because Taco Bell.
I was sitting there thinking, like, who asked for this? But I'm sure someone's excited out there somewhere.
I'm really excited for Taco Bell's concept restaurant where it's like you drive under the Taco Bell and it's multiple lanes of drive-through. That's really what they need.
But this isn't just necessarily Taco Bell taking crypto. It's this other company, and we can't scroll because Bloomberg. I can't remember the name of the company, but they're doing direct payments with crypto. So it's going to be like your regular drive-through where you just show them your phone and all that stuff. But when you go through, it's like, oh, okay, you got a Monero wallet and a Bitcoin wallet and an Ethereum wallet. Which one of these do you want to pull from? And then you do it, and then it goes through.
If the Starbucks app were a little faster, you could do that at Starbucks now because they have some third-party API integration, and you can pay with a QR code right now at Starbucks.
I think most places will let that happen, right?
Yeah.
Especially with like the app orders.
Yeah. They just scan your phone, and you're like, oh, okay, sounds good.
But there's still going to be a transaction fee.
Yeah.
So why?
Here's your $12 of Taco Bell and the $800 transaction fee.
Or, it's going to be $12 at Taco Bell with your 20-cent transaction fee, and in 10 years, you're going to look back at that 20 cents when it's $2,000.
I shouldn't have got that Taco Bell.
Was New World the game that was roasting the 3080s?
Yes.
So
Still is.
during the beta, we found out that New World was maybe a little bit risky, but they were like, "No, we're going to fix it before the launch." Well, now we've had the launch.
For flagging Amazon Games Unit, New World, quote unquote, has to be our breakthrough, which is a headline that does not make any sense at all grammatically. I have no idea what that's saying, but Amazon is saying we really have to make New World like our make or break title. Everybody has to love this. It's got to be great. And oh boy, it's killing video cards.
It was trending on Twitch yesterday, but that may be Amazon, who owns Twitch, maybe manipulating the numbers or maybe giving away free copies. I'm not sure.
Just a bit.
I have not looked into it too much because I'm not a big MMO guy, but it didn't seem like it was anything groundbreaking to me. It looked like people were chopping wood and fighting wolves.
Which
Yeah.
they've done in MMOs forever.
Right.
It's like Valheim, except it's from the mind of Jeff Bezos.
Well, I don't think it's quite like Valheim. I don't think
You
it's
chop down the tree and money comes out of it.
I don't think it's a survival type thing, right? It's more traditional MMO.
It's like fishing in World of Warcraft.
I'm not going to risk my video card. Windows 11 has really, really flip-flopped. How many times has this flipped and flopped? It seems limitless. But
No, this is not a flip-flop. This is just hackers being hackers.
No, but they flip-flop because they said it was you could all do it.
And
now
then-
you all can't do it. Well, maybe you can again. Oh, you have to have this. Well, maybe you can. Maybe you can't get updates. Well, good news. You don't have to worry about any of that until they change this.
New Windows 11 install script bypasses the TPM and other system requirements. This thing will just run and run and run and run. Now, when you go to update it, it might say, okay, or no, we don't know, but the script will just do whatever you want.
So you can get this media creation tool, which will create an installer that already has all this stuff set for you, and they also give you the registry keys here that you need to change if you want to do this manually. When you do that, this will go away, and you can install Windows 11.
Yeah.
How exciting. Works for virtual machines as well.
Nice. Although you can do TPM in virtual machines. That's not really a big deal.
The pandemic, this Ars Technica says it's easing. Is it?
I don't think it's not
No.
even here.
Doesn't seem like any less pressure to me, but I don't know. Maybe there's another reason for this.
Chromebook demand is plummeting as the thing eases. Maybe it's a chip shortage?
Could it be that they've already bought them for school
Oh, yeah, it could be.
and now school has started?
Well, yeah, and school is also, a lot of places are doing in person again, so it's like, well, I don't need a computer now.
There are a surprising amount of posts from people that are in high school and they're like, well, I was running my GPU scalping business during the day, but now I have to go back to school. And it's like, wow, that's impressive.
That's good. Get those ne'er-do-wells back in the program. Get them away. I wonder, though, so I remember reading one of the local schools just went back to online only. And they said there will be a drive-through service for you to come and pick up your Chromebook. How many of those do they get back?
Well, probably about 50%.
I bet it's less.
No, I'd say 50% is probably pretty safe.
That's crazy. How many of those 50% are still usable?
No, that's a better question.
How many of them got pawned?
Tesla, back when Australia was having their power issues, Musk swooped in and he was like, I will build you the biggest battery the world has ever seen. And he did it. He built the biggest battery the world has ever seen. And we stopped thinking about it. We were like, wow, that man actually did something he said. That's impressive. But here, a few years down the road, maybe the Australians aren't that crazy about it.
A Tesla big battery is getting sued over power grid failures in Australia. This is motherboard. So I dug into this. I don't think that this is a Tesla battery. Like, I don't think the battery is at fault. It seems like the people that are running it haven't followed through beyond just turning the battery on and off.
Well, so here's the way it works. There's another power plant. But when this power plant gets too much load, it needs to tap into the big battery. Now, the big battery is charged, but it seems to be like it's not able to get what it needs from the big battery when it needs it.
Sometimes it's a little late, is what they... Now, most of the time it is, because the article talks about how, like, so many thousand times it worked correctly, but a few times it didn't work correctly, and a few times it was out of phase. Like, this thing is supposed to be able to match phase with, like, whatever the power company wants arbitrarily, but it wasn't able to match phase, and that's maybe some of the transfer failures. It hasn't actually caused any power outages or anything like that, but they have entered, like, the red zone because there wasn't very much, spare power available. This seems more like a management issue than a technological issue, but also maybe there's some components missing, or maybe it was an Elon Musk thing where he's like, here is 90% of the solution. You got to figure out that last 10% on your own.
But that last 10% will get you every time.
But they're still using the bejesus out of the battery. It's just not, been amazing. And to be sure, they're not suing Tesla. They're suing the people that
The French company
that has the Tesla battery. So it might be incompetent management. I don't know.
Well, wasn't there? I saw this trending on Twitter, and I didn't look at it this closely, so I could be wrong about every detail here. But wasn't Australia kind of entered a new alliance with Canada and us for power stuff because they were mad at like a French company, and then the French were mad about that?
Yeah, I read a bunch of articles that were like the pro Tesla side of it, and they left a bunch of stuff out. And then I read a whole bunch of stuff that was like, this is basically a horrible Tesla failure. But then those articles left out the fact that most of the time this does actually work right. This is just a very small percentage of the time that there's a problem.
Okay. A very small, let's say 5% of the time, I'm going to turn your power off. You okay with that?
Well, it never actually went off. It just went into the
But
red
it
zone.
will if it continues.
Yeah, it'll happen.
Clearly
eventually,
something
probably.
needs to happen, yes. But will Tesla ultimately be responsible for the fix? And I think based on what these articles say, no, Tesla wouldn't be the one to actually fix what's causing the problem with the transfers. They need some sort of phase matching thing.
But if he was smart,
he would go fix it.
He would just let the PR thing happen and be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what's wrong here, and I will fix it. Rather than what he is going to do, which is, this is not my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That would be a good way to approach that.
Didn't include it, but we might as well talk about it. They broke up.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grimes and Elon. Good for her.
They had matching sad Twitter emojis, too.
Yeah, that was anime emojis.
Seemed like a PR stunt.
But one of them had to be less sad.
Obviously.
One of them, that's whose idea it was.
Mm.
Well,
I hope
electric
she
trucks.
makes good music for it.
You like her music. I don't
I do like
understand
her
that.
music. Yeah.
It's not for me.
She's a weirdo, but I like her music.
Yeah, well, that's what you're into, isn't it?
Yeah, I like weird music.
What
so.
do you rank her on a scale of Bjork?
Oh, she's not anywhere near Bjork. Maybe one day, but like Bjork's just like she's from another planet. Like people will be studying Bjork's music in like 100 years.
She needs to suffer at least 2 or 3 more billionaire relationships in order to be, Bjork's level of suffering.
No, she needs like my thing. I like a lot of her songs individually, but like her albums aren't cohesive as like an idea. She needs to like get the philosophy stuff down.
Get it together, Grimes.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Great music though. Looking forward to your next album. Fucking release it. Anyway.
Krista, you are crushing us with the monetization.
Oh, sorry. Do they probably flag that, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And titles too. The titles are also a struggle anymore.
The titles are always so brilliant, and it's no one appreciates it.
Some people appreciate them.
We throw away a lot of titles because we're worried.
Yeah. There's a lot that's like, that's going to get us flagged.
Electric trucks. We have the big F-150 that's coming, and everybody seems super, super hyped about that. We had, what was the other one that Biden drove? The Jeep. We have the Jeep that's coming, the electric Jeep. But those are all existing ICE companies. We need something new and fresh, and now we have it.
First drive, Rivian delivers the electric truck that we've been waiting for. The 2022 Rivian R1T has a lot to like and some details to love. This is an incredibly comprehensive review from TechCrunch.
Krista, what about these headlights? How do you feel about
I
them?
feel like that's strange. Why did they do that?
I think it makes them look like Disney cars.
A little bit. Would that be, I mean, I haven't seen them at night, but like, would they not get as much of a range of light beamed out? Because they're so tall and narrow.
I think modern headlights are also using these LED clusters. This is just arranging them a little different. I think this is purely aesthetic.
I don't know that I like that. It's fine, but...
So the article was pretty good. One of the trucks in the fleet, a bunch of YouTubers and review people participated in this. One of them got a flat, and so they walked through like the tire replacement procedure on one of these, like while out on the trail and that kind of thing. And there's a built-in camping stove and stuff like that. And it's actually pretty interesting.
So obviously from these pictures, the big thing they're selling here is this is all about the off-road. And that's what they're proving driving around these things up here. Here is one thing that might slow you down a little bit. $75,000.
Whew. The other thing that might slow you down a little bit, people who live in rural areas like this don't have access to charging stations.
You can charge these at home.
It'll charge overnight. Yeah.
I imagine that would be also very expensive on your electric bill.
It's not going to fast charge unless you get a 400 amp panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to drive up your electric bill for sure, but I don't think it's going to touch what you're paying for gasoline.
Yeah, if you're having a big truck like that.
You will save money.
Oh yeah, electricity around here is super cheap.
Yeah. China, oddly enough, just after we did that Australia story, China now has power problems.
Oh no.
And that's interesting because it's so funny that the rest of the world is like, all right, we're going to green energy, wind and solar. And China's over there doing everything they can just to keep the lights on with all those factories running 100%.
China's growing power crunch threatens more global supply chain chaos. The place that I ordered printed circuit boards from sent an email, was like, we're taking a week off. Sorry, good luck.
A lot
Good
of
luck,
that
everybody
going.
else.
Yeah, they're having to shut them down. And, if you schedule it, you don't have the unexpected shutdown, which with a lot of this manufacturing stuff can be really expensive.
Yeah.
So that is going to be bad for our store shelves right around the holiday shopping season.
Yeah.
Great. That means we don't need to shop as much, right? Let's not do all these gift exchanges that no one cares about.
Mom, Jif peanut butter update. Week 2 of I had to really spend a lot of time to find Jif peanut butter.
Where'd you get it?
Walmart.
Don't you have to go to Walmart for several of her items?
Yeah. It's disconcerting.
Walmart's it's the armpit of society.
It was also from a jar that was oddly dusty. And it's like, where did they get this?
That's the only one left in America. Well, boy, cryptocurrency made a big recovery last night. That was nice to wake up to. Hey, have $10,000 overnight. I'll take that. But some people still don't know where to get Bitcoin. And I got to say, Coinbase, they're serious about security, but setting up a new account, it's a bit of a hurdle. So what do you do?
From ATMs to drugstores, you can now buy Bitcoin almost anywhere. Bitcoin ATMs is what this story's about, and how they have 20,000, and they're going to add 100,000 over the next 3 years.
That is a lot. Now, we've talked about these before. You don't insert cash and get numbers out of it. It doesn't work quite like that. You got to use your phone and all that stuff. But you can buy Bitcoin without going through these online exchanges. Although, it's got to be annoying. You know how you go to a vending machine and your bag of chips gets stuck? And you just smash on it? Do you do that with a Bitcoin machine?
I just gave you $5,000.
Just rock it till the Bitcoins fall out?
Do you go to your local flea market and it's like, oh, I got to grab some Bitcoin while I'm here?
That's how it's going to be.
Yeah, when it's made illegal because of inflation. And they don't want money going out of the country, like China.
What if you need old doll parts at the flea market? You're going to have to spend Bitcoin on
You
that?
can only barter for that.
I got to reserve it right now.
And Bitcoin is eating up a lot of electricity. More and more people are pointing that out and sort of villainizing it because green, climate, it's bad for it. So what do? Well, you buy a power company.
Old coal plant is now mining Bitcoin for a utility company. So this is actually something that happened around here too. The coal power plant has to output a certain amount of electricity. There has to be a certain amount of demand on the grid. And so things have gotten so efficient, electrical demand in general has gone down in residential America over the last 20, 30 years, substantially.
Plus they got the renewables.
Yeah. And so, and a lot of people are going solar and blah, blah, blah. So it's really hard to keep the coal plants online. So around here, the problem is you got to do something to increase the electrical demand. You could just convert it to heat, but that's not very efficient. So these folks are running Bitcoin mining farms, and they say in the article that it only takes 20 seconds to port the power from the mining operation to the grid when the grid needs it. But by keeping the mining operation going, they recoup some of the costs that it takes to run the equipment. It's profitable, and it also ensures that the electricity is available when it's needed for non-mining things. So literally the mining is the lowest priority, and it's a better situation to do that than not have the plant operational at all. But it's weird because we're in this transitionary phase and people are like, oh my gosh, we're burning coal for Bitcoin.
There is an alarm that probably should be sounded there. We're taking irreplaceable in not just our lifetimes, but how many, a million generations of lifetime. We have these dead dinosaurs and trees.
We're
And
not going to get coal anymore because now
Yeah.
things break down the things that die.
that's all that we're ever going to have. And we're taking this resource, which is you're never going to be able to make more of. And we're like, just turn this into artificial money. Please. Can we convert this into artificial money and also a terrible byproduct?
Well,
Can we
you,
get some
and
of
you were
that?
talking about like it would be cool if we could use that for heat. And it's like, do you think the people who didn't have heat in Texas over the winter, they're like, man,
Or the ones in China that are going to freeze to death this winter? People are going to freeze to death in China.
yeah, they're
Then it becomes a problem of transporting the energy because Texas elected not to connect their grid to anything else, so the rest of the grids literally couldn't help them when they had a cold snap.
I think that's going to happen again this year.
When it comes to the voluntary,
Level 1 prediction.
when you're going to have to voluntarily cycle your power off for a certain amount of times, where do you think the Uyghur camps are in that rotation?
The top of the list.
If they have power at all in a lot of those places.
Is there an alternative to Bitcoin that would let the coal plant continue to be operational? Because not operating the coal plant would make the possibility of a Texas type situation much more likely that the grid would become overloaded because then the plant wouldn't be operating at all.
No, I think, well, yeah, you could probably like give it away.
Elon Musk saves the day with more batteries. We pull yet more lithium from this irreplaceable.
I mean, look at all these electric cars we're building.
Oh boy. Yeah, if you invested in lithium in the 90s, you can retire now.
Eventually, there's going to be a whole parking lot full of electric trucks just daisy chained together at the utility company, and that's the battery. And then every once in a while, one catches fire.
We got to park more than 20 feet away from each other.
You got to run out there with a broom handle and knock the cable off of it. iOS 15 is out, and we are finding bugs.
Oh, there's so many bugs. This bug, if you have if you have a picture that you saved from iMessage, it remembers that you saved the picture from iMessage, and then if you delete the message or the thread that the message came from, it will also delete the image because of course you wanted that. Of course.
Imagine you're a young man. Let's say maybe you're 15, 16 years old. You got your iPhone. You're feeling good. You finally get up the courage to talk to a girl. You get your first nude. Oh my God, a milestone. And then you delete it.
Oops.
And you can never get it back.
What happened to save as? It's like
There's no file system.
Yeah, there's no file because we had that story about there's no file system, and it's like, what do you mean save as doesn't work anymore?
And you don't want to put little Susie's picture in the cloud because technically that's CSAM.
You're gonna get a stern talking to for sure.
So watch out for that. If you get an image in your message, make sure you forward it to your email address to keep it. The AirTag has also been released. It's a fun little thing. Costs $30. Helps you to not lose things. But it has a special feature. When you do lose it, it's kind of like, you know how a lot of car companies will have that little tag that they'll give you, and if you drop it into a mailbox, your keys just come back to you. It's that kind of thing, but it's digital, and it has a terrible flaw.
Apple AirTag bug enables a quote-unquote good Samaritan attack. What this is you can have a fake AirTag, basically, or an AirTag that's been modified, and on your iPhone you'll get a pop-up that's like, oh, this AirTag has been lost. You want to help the person try to find it, and it's a QR code or something, and that will actually trigger, the delivery of malware.
So you can actually put bad stuff in this text field. And if you do it in such a way that it runs bad code, you could cause them a lot of problems just from scanning your AirTag and trying to get it back to you.
Oops.
Which means that no one will scan AirTags now, right?
Yeah.
How many people wouldn't just steal the thing anyway? I guess maybe they're afraid with the AirTag on it that they might get caught.
Probably, yeah.
GriftHorse is a great name for a malware, maybe one of the best ever. And it affects everybody's Android phones, so you should be terrified of it.
New GriftHorse malware has infected more than 10 million Android phones. I'd like to just point out how this headline definitely underscores that no one at Google is paying any attention whatsoever to what is going on in the Android App Store. Zero attention. How does the infection get this bad?
Is this map correlated? It doesn't really say. It says Zimperium.
Talking about malware or just
Most of where the malware is?
the pandemic?
I don't know if they're actually telling us that or not. Africa's doing pretty good.
Probably the lack of phones.
So, yeah, what this does is it signs you up for these SMS services, like, maybe you get some dog facts or something, but it's going to cost you $35 a month to get those dog facts. And you never said yes to it. It was the malware that signed you up.
Did anybody ever willingly pay $35 a month for dog facts?
I don't know, but they say these guys are making a lot of money, like $1.5 million a month or so.
Wow.
Well, it was definitely worth it. I mean, obviously 10 million people, Google is looking at this in their analytics and they're like, surely to goodness 10 million people are not infected with malware. This has got to be a legit commercial operation. The answer was no. The analytics were lying.
But like you say, why would anybody ever
do
that? It's crazy.
I love it when you have something that's just, somebody comes to you and they're like, oh, the analytics show that, the search isn't really used or whatever. And then you explain like how that is a consequence of bad design. And they're like, oh, that's probably right.
Well, when you get a large corporation or government, you get this mentality of, that's not my job. It's somebody else's job to deal with that. Even though this is on fire, I am not the fire marshal, so I'm going to leave the room. That is the wrong attitude to have, and it leads to this.
Story of credentials leaking Exchange Autodiscover flaw, the one Microsoft wouldn't fix even after 5 years. So it turns out if you use Exchange or Exchange in the cloud, it tries to automatically figure out where your mail server is. And rather than use DNS like everybody has used since the beginning of time, since the beginning of email, to figure out where your mail server is, it uses something Microsoft invented called Autodiscover. Well, guess what? If your email is at foo.com, it hits foo.com, the website, to ask where the mail server is. And if you maliciously respond, the mail programs will happily send foo.com your email, username, and password. Now, what happens if the corporate website is, not even on the corporate network? It's run by some, idiot agency that's using WordPress for your, hosting. Oh no, there's malware in WordPress. Oh no, it's stealing your Exchange credentials.
I sense some repressed rage there.
So yeah, be careful what's running on your domain or what domains you enter into Microsoft when you're setting up Exchange.
Or who you let work on things that are your domain. Just saying.
Now, we have given the warning several times before, and we get a lot of questions about this, actually. A lot of people are like, oh, what VPN do you guys use? Well, it's constantly shifting. For a while, I think private internet access was one of the best. But didn't they do something?
I think they got bought by an intelligence organization.
So then you don't know. Now you're guessing again. Now, I would say the one way that you can tell is the ones that get sued. And in court, come and say, we cannot satisfy this request because we do not keep logs. Liquid VPN would go on that list, except now they probably don't exist anymore. And if they do, they're going to get destroyed.
Film studios sue quote-unquote no logs VPN provider for $10 million. Independent movie studios are demanding $10 million in damages from Liquid VPN. It'll be interesting to see how this court case plays out. I wonder, some of the exhibits in the court case seem to be sort of hinge on the studios saying that Liquid VPN is encouraging piracy. And so if they've avoided that, then they should be okay.
But then there's this.
Yeah.
The best VPN for torrenting and peer-to-peer file sharing. Now, does torrenting and peer-to-peer file sharing have to be piracy? Not at all. Remember when they were distributing Linux distros on that?
Oh yeah.
And people kept getting caught up with the ISPs.
Remember, I think it was like Spectrum sent somebody a cease and desist for distributing Ubuntu, and it was like, but
because it was peer-to-peer.
But this Ubuntu is allowed.
But I'm afraid that Liquid VPN probably did know who they were advertising here to. Yeah, so
hopefully this court case works out for them. I hope it does. It should under the law, but then also Arrow, which rebroadcasts over that should have worked out fine for them under the law too. It did not.
Remember Popcorn Time?
That one's a little more flagrant.
But I think Liquid VPN was advertising, hey, if you're going to use Popcorn Time.
Oh, that's a problem.
Yeah. Now, I did a little bit of VPN research lately, and I discovered that ExpressVPN also is no-log total RAM disk. And I thought, that sounds pretty good. Maybe I'll try them out. And I did, and they seem to be okay. But now, what's this?
ExpressVPN employees complain about the ex-spy's top role at company. So there's somebody that has left the intelligence community, or maybe not, that is running things.
But not only the intelligence community, not the American intelligence community, the United Arab Emirates.
Ooh.
And we have seen plenty of headlines about the UAE and what they're willing to do with Pegasus, for example. They're willing to spy on a lot of people.
Like the French president.
And Morocco did something.
That was the French president.
So, yeah, the guy running the place over at ExpressVPN used to do that for a living, and they knew about it when they hired him. That's the thing that people are up in arms about.
Maybe they got a visit and was like, look, you're not going to exist anymore because you've become an international target. Let our guy run things and you can continue to make money. I was like, okay, that sounds good.
Their argument is, this guy's good. Like, not only do we hire him and we're happy with that, we've been giving him more and more power because he's just so good. Of course, if he was spying, that means he gets more and more access. SpaceX is out there, and people are using it, and they seem to like it. And now that it's in the hands of the consumer, of course, they're going to use it for things it was never meant for.
SpaceX satellite signals used like GPS to pinpoint location on Earth. It turns out that the laws of physics apply universally to all satellite signals, and because we know the structure of what the SpaceX satellite signals are going to look like, and they have timing information in the packets, we can just use those. We can use that arbitrarily to figure out, where we are on Earth, because we know where the satellites are.
Now, these guys went out of their way to, they fell all over themselves to point out, we do not know what else is coming on these signals. The only thing we know is the timing and which satellite it came from. We're not spying on your SpaceX signal. I promise we're not.
I got the feeling that they were doing that because they didn't want to get sued by Musk.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, what are you doing? More than, stirring up outrage because they're like, oh my gosh, they're spying on me.
Or even if he didn't spy on for what they were doing, what if they affected sales somehow? Because people were like, oh no, they looking at my satellite feed. My Pornhub. We know that federal agencies very regularly go to the big tech companies and they say, we're going to need all the information you have about this person. Or even worse, we're going to need to know all the people that were in this location. And we live in a horrible dystopia, so they get it. But it's even worse than that.
When the FBI seizes your messages from from big tech, you may not know it for years.
But also probably from Bing somehow.
Enter the story of Ryan Lackey, who didn't find out that he lost all of his stuff until years later.
5 years. And he wasn't sure, and still isn't sure, what exactly they were looking for. But, he was some kind of activist or something, right? Yeah, like an open secrets type of guy. So they also point out how Trump went after all the media people. That wasn't okay.
That was not okay.
But they did it.
And yet nothing has happened to anybody that rubber stamped that all the way down.
Well, you'd have to go back so far, though. Every president would have to be taken down by that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's gotten really dark since the days since Nixon.
God. Obama is such a national treasure. We can't let anything happen to him. DDoS is a big problem, and if you have a big website, you really have to deal with it. But if you have a website that offers a service, a digital service, you're extra at risk.
VoIP.ms phone services disrupted by DDoS extortion attack. This went on for a couple of weeks, I think. And they just kept DDoSing this VoIP service, which is enough to disrupt, voice over IP. It's very latency sensitive. And they basically said, look, this will go away if you pay the ransom. So it wasn't even that they lost access or that they were compromised in some way. It was literally just flooding them with crap.
They they were hitting the DNS server. So hilariously, these guys were like, okay, if you're one of our customers, just go to your host's file. And you imagine the calls that came in. Just go to your host file and set up, go directly to the IP address. So the DDoS people immediately switched to the IP address instead of the DNS server. And we still got them. Yikes. Krista, how do you secure your phone nudes?
Well, I do that by not taking them because I trust no one.
That is probably the best way to do it. Google has another idea.
Google Photos nude-friendly folders coming to Android phones soon.
So basically, did they say what kind of encryption this was using?
No, it's just going to have an extra password.
So it's not encrypted?
Oh, it probably is.
But yeah, you can create a locked folder, which you can use your fingerprint or some other factor of authentication. And everything in that, I assume, will be encrypted. And you can't get to without.
Well, it's got. I mean, you have to do something like that because when you do something, it's in your recent files, and then it's like in your history, and then it might come up. Like Google's like, look, we made a thing of what you were doing on this day last year.
Oh no!
No.
Don't listen.
Spam. Potential spam.
You got to put it on mute.
That's fine. And you do your thing, and then like a year later, it comes up, and it's like, this is what you were doing on this day a year ago, and it's like, oh,
taking
news. Yeah, it's like,
I got something like that on Facebook when I used to post on Facebook from like 10 years ago, and it was like, your dog died today, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
thanks Facebook.
Yeah, you feel like this feature should have been a thing that was added, I don't know, like a decade ago.
I get that. I mean, you need a folder that's locked down, but I think a decade ago, were we ready to admit that leaked nudes were as big as a problem as they were?
I just don't. I mean, I like having the idea of an extra layer of security for just anything. Like I might, have to take a picture of a bill or a bank statement or something, and it's like I don't want that mixed in with the rest of the crap on my phone.
Yeah.
How quickly do you think that Celebrite will get access?
They're immediately gonna. That's like the very top of the list. It's like, oh, we got access to the phone. Oh, we copied the folder. We don't know what the passcode is, but we copied the folder. We'll crack that. Don't worry. Yeah.
Did you pull the nudes? Remember, always pull the nudes on step 2. It's most important. Don't ever forget those. Electronic monitoring is something that has been stepped up in the wake of the pandemic because you don't want to lock people in tiny rooms together, right? That would be bad. But as NBC News points out, maybe the electronic stuff is worse.
Other than prison, electronic monitoring is the most restrictive form of control, research finds. This is a form of incarceration that happens outside of prison walls, said one expert.
The big problem seems to be that the level of, you have to walk such a straight line when you're on electronic surveillance that almost everybody violates it and then ends up back in prison with more time.
The article kind of makes it imply let's say that you got an ankle monitor and the ankle monitor of the future can tell the people around you. And it's like, oh, you went to the store and you were near this other person that was a convicted felon. And it's like, I didn't even know that. And it's like, but the technology knew that.
Yeah.
Well, remember when getting a tweet from one of those people could keep you out of the country?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not the kind of thing that they are above doing.
So the Norwegian water must be decent if it's going into the thing.
Yeah, the Norwegian water is perfectly fine water. Certainly. I got nothing bad to say about it.
Definitely better than the Kroger alternative.
Oh, yeah. Way ahead of Kroger. Still a step behind Nestle. I'm sorry. Norway, maybe if you would institute a slavery program, you could one day make water as good as Nestle. But that's the only way you can do it, is human slavery. That kind of quality requires sacrifice.
So
Not for me.
So that's why the iPhones are selling so well.
Any tech, really. Anything made overseas.
Well, Eurostar, which I take to be the passport system that they use in the UK and at their airports, they had a bit of a problem.
UK airports, Eurostar hit by a brief border software outage. So you're coming in, going out of the border, and the software that's like green light or red light, it was like, I don't know.
So nothing happens.
It was a bit of a problem.
People just mill around in the airport, and it's a terrible, terrible thing because our entire lives are controlled by algorithms. OnlyFans, they are back to being in the sex worker business. They're proud. They've found alternative funding. Everything is going well, except they've got a problem with their ticketing system.
Former OnlyFans employees could access users' and models' personal information. Addresses, passports, bank statements, and other sensitive information were viewable long after leaving the company. They forget to turn people that were fired their accounts off. Oops.
So this was a issue tracker. Was this Fogbugs, I think? Zendesk, one of the big ones. And so, when you have a ticketing system, someone from OnlyFans says, oh, I've got a problem. It goes in, it creates a ticket, and it's your job to go and take those tickets and do things with them. And then you quit or you get fired. And guess what? Your login still works.
Oops.
Ugh. How many women do you think were harassed by former employees who worked on the ticketing system.
That's how they figured this out.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, those women are probably pretty used to being harassed at this point, right?
Yeah, but usually it's just like some rando, someone who knows your address and like your bank info. That's a little terrifying.
Yeah, for sure. It's they need to do some sort of hash for that, right?
Yeah.
Like you're never looking at.
That's actually a PCI compliance violation that they can get to that. They can get fined, or worse, be uninsured, and then they can't process credit cards once again.
Remember those hacks that could get past the lock screen on an iPhone?
Yep.
Some people saw that and they said, how could I use that to steal money?
Apple Pay with Visa has been hacked to make payments via locked iPhones. Well, it turns out the headline is misleading. It's Apple Pay with Visa, is designed to allow payments without unlocking. That's what the headline should have been.
It's called transit mode. When you turn on transit mode, it assumes that you don't want to unlock your phone. You just want to scan it to get on a train or something. I guess that's to keep the line moving, maybe.
I mean, that's unlocking your phone takes like 3 seconds.
Well, that's too much apparently. And so they figured out that when that is turned on, you can just pay for anything.
Appliances, phones, other phones.
Just phones all the way down.
Trains.
You could buy the whole train.
Oops, I didn't mean to buy the train. I just wanted a ticket.
Honestly, I don't think there's any place you could buy a train with that kind of near-field transaction. There might be. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Model trains at Hobby Lobby.
Oh, there you go. Trains are us. Trains for less.
We should do a Trains R Us episode in the style of Spatula City from UHF. Just for fun.
Fun. And our final story, we talked about this last week. Web host Epik. They did some things wrong. They did a lot of things wrong, and it's hurting them.
We've leaked disk images stolen from far-right friendly web host Epik, according to Anonymous. So these are disk dumps from their cloud provider or wherever they were using, 180 gigabytes. So there's a lot of stuff that has not really been processed or analyzed yet. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot more stories about stuff that they found and people that were involved.
And these are the kind of people who, by doxing them, there are people out there who will probably try to go after them. Because these are the extremes of the two sides. And there's a lot of bitterness there. So we'll see if Epik has any. Going forward, they might have some culpability in terms of some horrible things that happen.
They're going to have some problems.
They've already got problems. They're pretty much done, I think, as a web server. So if you want to go look at that, you can. Read about the Proud Boys. See what they're up to.
All right, another episode done. Is that it? Any final thoughts? How far are you into the orange soda? I think you're below the label.
A little more than half.
Yeah, you've definitely gone half. Because of that cola, you haven't even put it in it.
No, I've still got a little bit in the cup. Drinking it slowly.
I feel like they really ripped off RC's art style there.
I mean, cola kind of has a classic style. You
Yeah,
don't
but
want to
the
deviate
blue,
too
the
far
label,
from it.
is what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
It is a little old-timey. And I'm pretty sure that this is a public domain
Image.
because I've seen it in a lot of places. I've seen it usually with respect to beer.
Oh, yeah. It's a hand holding a cup up like this. Anyway, we will see you guys on Friday. Bye.